So today in the gym, we're working on quad strength. We've been like making that priority since Boston, basically since I took 2 weeks off, and then we went like right back into like, okay, Boston 5.5 months. Basically my quads were destroyed after Boston, destroyed at mile 17. And that was my limiting factor. It wasn't anything else. It was like my quads, just like cramping, getting tight. So today in the gym, we are making my quads as strong as they can be, just so I can like manage that mechanical damage that will inevitably happen, and so that I can work through it when I get to mile 17 and the leaders make their move and I can go with them.
All right, so knee stuff. Today we're gonna get loosened up, getting the knees going a couple different ways. We're gonna do those loaded reverse Nordics,
cool.
or you'll add a plate if you can, right?
Cool.
We'll figure out the depth for that. We're gonna do the loaded knee extension again, but that'll be a little bit different. We're not gonna do eccentrics this time, and then split squats 2 different ways. I do not wanna mess with that cable machine eccentric today.
You're not happy with that?
We're just not gonna worry about it.
Okay, cool.
So let's start getting loosened up. So if we take a split stance and think about moving the knee around, we know that we don't want the heel to windshield wiper side to side, and we don't want the foot to kind of swivel around. So keep the foot planted and move the knee through the biggest circle that you can with that planted foot. Ooh, balance.
What's it called again? The glitter stuff?
Glitter?
Like Dune.
Oh, spice in
Spice.
Dune?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, apparently it's called melange, but they call it spice as like a,
Oh, it's called melange.
yeah, in the book.
In the book.
There's so much stuff in the book that's not in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Don't
tell me that.
Whatever. So we're gonna do a little bit of a duck walk here. What we're looking for is to send a knee forward all the way to the floor, and then send the next knee forward all the way to the floor. Easy way to just kind of load up the knees, get things moving.
Nate, have you seen Dune? No. Have you read it? Oh, you are? Oh, that's a good idea. Oh. I always listen to books because, like, for me, it's easier. But I never thought about listening to Dune. I should. Anyways.
Very descriptive.
Yeah.
You can imagine how hard it was to make a movie out of it.
Yeah,
Like people have tried and failed, and then this movie, he didn't try that hard to fit everything in. He just kind of went, just show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he hired Timothy, so.
Okay, so some type of squat, your heels can be on the ground, they don't have to be, and then what we're gonna look for is to bring that knee down and in towards the other foot and come back. So what you can see is I'm kind of rotating my torso here, and then over time I'm gonna try to limit that and keep my belly button facing forward, so I'm rotating through the hip to get there. Right? Once it burns a little bit, you can stand up. We'll do it a couple times. Everything we're doing with the knee is like super linear, but we got to remember that that interaction between the femur and the tibia has some rotation. So getting a little bit of rotation through the knee every now and then, good place to start.
Okay.
Toes are good.
Toes are good. Yep. I feel like I'm getting to be bulletproof.
In your foot, getting to.
In my everything, yeah. Okay.
All right, not bad. So we'll shake it out, and then we'll get a mat, figure out our reverse Nordic curls, and kind of get started. And I'll show you what we're doing with the leg extension.
Okay.
Feel warm?
Yep.
Enough? Okay, so what we've been doing with the leg extension is we've been helping you up to the top,
Yeah.
and then getting a real slow eccentric and building that up as heavy as we can. What we want today is kind of concentric focus reps, and we're going to work our way to something where we can't really complete 5, getting all the way to the top.
Oh, we're doing concentric, you said?
Yep, we're going to focus on
okay.
the up. The down can just be relaxed.
Okay.
Right? So, or at least just letting it down. So we get ourselves set. You got to get yourself psyched up. Drive up to straight legs, and then let it down pretty quickly.
Okay.
And you can let it crash down.
Okay.
And then you get yourself set, drive up, and let it down. And we're going to look for something where it's hard to get all the way to that squeeze at the top, if not impossible.
Okay.
Yeah, but before that, before each set, we're going to do that loaded hold
Okay.
at the bottom of the
20 seconds?
Yeah, 20 seconds or so. So we'll have you go first. This should be fine.
All right. We'll see if I can get any lower than last time. You keep your feet like this.
No, I keep them like that.
Like
yeah.
this.
So first you shove hips forward, posterior tilt, crunch the ribs down, and then you're organized. Get yourself down as low as you can. Contract against that pressure to drive your feet into the floor and hang with it for up to 20 seconds.
Woo! Okay, I made it 10. Woo! Okay.
And then I would sit your hips down when you're done. Don't worry about coming back up. Feels like a lot.
Yeah, it like right through here. It's
And then
just
pretty
like,
quick after that, we're going right over here.
Okay. 5.
Yep, 5 of them. So get yourself set. I like to get as tall as I can, maybe lean back a little bit so you're not like hunched. And then we're gonna pull on the handles, drive up against that weight. Squeeze, put it back down. And 5 of them will do. So when we're adding weight, we're going to add more here than we do here.
Okay.
But we don't want it to be totally weightless to start, right?
Got it.
So
Because here adds weight.
to the beginning.
Lower.
Like we can
Okay.
say this weight's the first half of the movement,
Uh-huh.
and that adds weight to the second
Okay.
in general. Yeah? So a little bit extra there, a little bit extra here, and then I'll do mine.
Didn't even hold 20 seconds
That's okay,
on mine.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
20 is pretty long. So let that drag you down a little bit lower.
Okay.
But make sure that you contract and drive your feet into the floor to
Okay.
meet that extra weight.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just hold strong. Good push. Let's say 5, 4, long 3, 2, and a quick 1 down.
Good. That was 15.
Perfect. So now that's heavier, and we keep doing what we're doing. Good. Try to move it fast. Much better. I don't have a passport.
You should get one. That's the thing, like every time I think about I'm like, oh, like if it gets winter time and it's snowy and I want to go train,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's like too well set up here, you know?
Do you feel like having 4 seasons is important? I've always lived somewhere where there's 4 distinct seasons.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's good for building character, or you'd like take it or leave it?
I think at this point I would not like, I would like to live somewhere that's nice all year round.
All the time?
Yeah, like when I was younger, yeah, I really liked the seasons. But now I'm like, no, I don't really want to go out at 6 a.m. freezing out. Like I coach on Wednesdays at 7 a.m. and like I dread it. Like, cause I'm just like standing there outside like.
That's what I'm talking about
Yeah.
though. Like that's what you draw on in mile 20, whatever.
Oh, yeah, and I do think so that's interesting because you know, when I started doing marathons, I was so I was always hustling. I went from client, I'd run with clients and then I'd strength train clients and I'd run with clients, I'd do my own workout, and I was like, is that why I'm good? Because I have to mentally I'm going all day long, I'm dying, but I have to act like I'm happy with these people and I have energy.
There's got to be a sweet spot between being pampered
Yeah.
and being a farm
Yes,
kid.
yes,
you know?
I agree. I agree. And yeah, you don't want to get too soft, you know, but all right.
Good, loading up that knee, big tension through the quads, driving into the floor, let's say 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can feel how that plate adds to making you want to like lean backward and extend here. You got to do the opposite. You got to try to crunch through it.
Okay.
And you'll feel a little more locked in.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. We're heading over here. This is heavier than it was. And what you're going to look for
What'd you add?
is,
10?
say again?
Would you add 10?
Both got heavier.
Okay.
So we're just kind of eyeballing it. Do as many as you can until concentric failure, and we're going to hope for that to be
5.
a lot less than 10.
Okay.
Closer to 5.
Okay.
Yeah? Drive each one up as hard as you can, big squeeze, and then let it down kind of smooth. Yep, get locked out.
What's the deeper goal of the workout?
We're just trying to build a knee, right? The biggest, baddest, most monster knee that you can. There's some struggle there. So yeah, I mean, to anybody, this doesn't look running specific, but it doesn't need to be because it's knee specific, right? And what's useful about these machines that can often get a bad rap for sitting down, sometimes strapping a seatbelt on yourself, is they don't seem too functional, but it's our only opportunity to really be able to really load up the quads in their shortened position. And if we want to make as strong quads as possible, that's an important piece of it. So, leg extension machine. Yeah. We're going to do one more.
4 sets?
How many did you do?
I did 4.5.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll try to beat that. We won't make it any heavier for you.
Okay.
The next one, I'm going to add a little bit.
I mean, yeah, it's basically like, you know how Keith likes to explain it, and like that I've like adopted is like this whole thing is like, you know, he doesn't think of things as like different muscles. It's just like continuous, right? So like anytime you're here, it's just this whole front side. So yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So like if you lean back or if you wanted to, you know, stretch all the way through that line, you would like lean back and try to extend as much as you can and touch your head to the floor.
Yeah.
But we're not really looking for that. We don't want to lengthen across the entire thing. We're more focused on putting force here. So organizing yourself and focusing on that spot ends up being more worthwhile for us than making some beautiful shape, you know? Oh, not very long. That feeling like your knee wants to explode is the good stuff.
It's a fine line between the explosion of the knee and not the explosion of the knee.
I mean, that's important. Like, that's the way we think about things, is like an injury, if something breaks, like that, and that's not synonymous with pain, right?
Okay.
Pain is kind of different, but if something in your body breaks, that's a failure of strength, right? And that's why we think about strength the way we do, is being able to absorb force probably being more important than producing it. And in fact, your ability to produce it rests on that ability to absorb it first. So yeah, that's why we do eccentrics and isometrics and stuff like that. But sometimes you just gotta put pedal to the metal and drive weight up. Yeah. So Nate, the past couple weeks we've assisted Nell up to the top with heavy weight and then lowered with as much control as she could. So that eccentric, that, you know, absorbing is not too accurate, but think of it as absorbing that force. And now we're thinking more about producing. Yeah. Let's switch gears to that split squat. Let me look at my board real quick. Sure, I'm not forgetting anything. We're gonna do it with this rather than dumbbells today too.
Okay.
So heavier than ever.
I was sore today. My trunk.
Oh, cool. Yeah, me too. Abs from the extra GHC sit-ups we did.
We did yesterday. Let's see, was Thursday. We did like rotational stuff, so like trunk stuff, like expansive stuff. So I was like pretty sore from that today. I'm always sore in different places. Like Tuesday, I'm sore in the calves. Wednesday, my glutes are sore. Thursday, so it's like a rotation. It's just good.
All right, so we've been doing these long stance split squats. So what we're looking for is now to train quads in their lengthened position. The two things that lengthen the quads in general are knee flexion, so getting down deep into here, but also hip extension. So we got lengthened quads in both legs, in addition to what's going on in the hip at the bottom of it. So that's why we've been doing this stuff, and it also just putting a ton of pressure into the knee, just like those reverse Nordics. We've been doing it with dumbbells. This will allow us to load it up heavier without our grip being a limiting factor. What we're gonna look for is to get underneath here. The safety squat bar has these handles and they'll run into your knee if you're not careful. So if I'm doing this, I like pushing up on it to help them clear my knee, right? So think about where you are in space. So we're not gonna hit if we go too far forward and run into there. And we're gonna think about pushing forward and down, driving up and back. Really thinking about that forward and back more than up and down. My pressure's on the inside of my foot, and we're gonna be looking for sets of 5 just like we've been doing.
Okay.
But this will let us go heavier. Any questions?
Nope.
And then we got those other split squats that we're doing in between, which we'll review when we
Okay.
get there. So,
You want weight on the first set?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
So find some
Position
balance.
is not easy for me because my extension sucks and my dorsiflexion.
Push forward. Remember, we want that back leg as straight as it can be, even though it won't be straight. Do you feel like balance was a little bit of a struggle?
On the first one,
Okay.
but I widened out my stance.
Exactly,
on the second one.
yeah. So
Yeah.
not being on a tightrope will help us with
Yeah.
balance, as will just being tighter in
Yeah.
general. So let's think about,
So, what are your thoughts on what Mark said about like Edna having a lot of like her stride is like a lot in the back of her and my stride is in the front of me, so that's why like the downhill crushed me more than it would someone like her. Do you think
because you
there's-
depend on
because I
knee drive and reaching out for the ground
yeah
more?
yeah
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like whether it's an accurate description of what's happening is another matter, but it kind of makes sense.
yeah.
Um,
Because
Yeah.
my question, I guess, is like, you know, we did do some quad stuff leading up to, you know, the 4 months leading up to.
yeah, but not much and not enough.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. But like, I guess my question is, do you think the 5 girls who beat me were doing quad stuff?
Oh, who knows,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. Like you can win races without doing any strength work. You can really, really rely on it. It just depends on kind of how you think about what you're doing in the gym and if you're finding the things that you need and that make a difference for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've kind of said, depending on how people define strength, we could agree or disagree about whether runners should be doing strength stuff. We're opening up hip extension so you can drive with your hips and use that as much as possible. But at the end of the day, you do need to use your quads, especially if the road tips downward or tips upward. So
Yeah.
that's going to be there for you too. That's our goal. Okay, can we review these?
Yep.
Just for the old camera.
For the old camera.
So rear foot elevated split squat. Once we find our spacing, it's easy to just go up and down, and that's perfectly fine. But what we've been doing is trying to hold tension in the back of our legs, glutes and hamstrings, by getting all the way down and leaning forward, driving through the heel, and leaning a little bit back and not locking out at the top. So lean forward, drive up and lean back, lean forward, drive up, lean back and squeeze. And we've been doing anywhere from 10 to 20 of them, no extra weight. Ring a bell.
Rings the bell.
Forward, drive back. Really thinking about glutes connecting to the floor through the heel. Remember that back leg.
there's something.
Your
about
body,
that.
I mean, your body really wants to keep everything in your hips. Like, you know, you struggle to keep that back leg straight. You struggle to get that knee forward. So that's what we got to focus on.
Yeah.
Even if it means that you don't go quite as low.
Yeah.
You get forward, forward, forward.
There's something in this stance that's like, doesn't want me to do that. And I can't tell if it's like over here or over here, but like here, I'm comfortable extending, getting that reach. And here, like my body's like, no, you don't want to do that. So.
And you don't feel specifically where that block is? You don't think?
That time I didn't, no.
Okay.
Do you use any data from Nell's workouts to kind of craft how you train, or like what do you use to like guide your training?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. I tend to not be a huge numbers guy. Like on some level, we got to record things and make sure that there is more over time, but more can mean a lot of things. We can be doing more weight, we can be doing more reps, we can be doing more time under tension by manipulating the speed of the movement. So it's not nearly as simple as that. I did not write down any of the numbers from that leg extension because we were just looking for that feeling of, woof, this is heavy. And we're not really gonna come back to anything like that anytime soon. These I'm writing down because I think the split squat will stick around for a while. That's my answer to it. Yeah, I'm definitely not a huge data guy unless it feels like the number is the thing guiding the process rather than here we're more looking for a feeling and a lot of that stuff. And you know, probably the most important thing we're getting rather than the heaviest weight she ended up doing is this feeling that Nell has some sort of restriction in this type of movement that we want to look for. And I like this split squat because it gets a lot of things moving. We get toe extension in the back foot. We get a nice straight leg and back and hip extension. It's a bilateral movement, tons of pressure in the front of the knee, the ankle in the front leg, just so much stuff going on that's important for a runner. So I really do look for this movement to be effortless to get into and then have a pretty good level of strength as well. And we're gonna keep going until we get there.
I think it comes down to like what we realize, like my right, it's actually my right quad is way weaker than my left quad.
Is that the one that would always get the weird
No, my
stuff
left
going on?
quad would, because I think it was overloaded.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. And I think like if you look at the girth, like this one's even girthier.
Sometimes the eyes can lie a little bit. Have you ever like taken a tape measure
Yeah.
to it? Okay.
Yeah, my PT would do it. And this one's the one that had the labral tear. Like I think I just overload this leg for the most part.
Sometimes we want shoes off, but really it's whatever you feel like you want to do. I think the type of shoe, if you're going to wear shoes for traction, the type of shoe that you wear in the gym definitely matters. It letting the foot flex or something like that, but I don't think it matters quite as much as people want it to. Did you just, like, why did you keep your shoes off? Just because you had the wrong shoes here? Because
Yeah, I don't think I brought the right shoes.
you showed up in Hoka's before and we're like, this is not going to work.
Yeah. When I have my like Hoka shoes on, it's just like, I'm like, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, I actually like doing workouts without shoes, unless like it's like sled pushing or pulling, or I have like my favorite socks on. And I don't want to ruin them, so. Yeah. But no real magic to that, I don't think.
Okay, so let's grab a set of dumbbells that's a little bit heavier than you might want to use.
Okay.
And we'll do one big set of walking lunges, specifically doing it in such a way where we're stepping forward into it and having to kind of
So like
absorb
wider, I mean like longer.
that. You do want to take a long enough step that you feel a stretch through there. Like you don't want to be short and having this knee be too far forward.
Uh-huh.
But really it's all about kind of catching our weight on each one.
Okay.
And just getting that eccentric.
Okay.
At the end of the day, like most of the time I don't want to make you super sore, but today I'm okay with you being sore through the weekend because it's week 3 and then we go back to things being a lot easier next week and wave things that way.
Okay.
All right?
So one big set means how many?
A lot. Like if we
So-
grab, you know, my guess for you is probably like 30s or 35s.
Okay.
And then your goal would be to get down to the other end of the room and probably back, and maybe slightly further than that.
Okay, just one of those?
Yep, and that's it.
Okay.
So we're just gonna get a really good stimulating set of walking lunges and let that be enough. So you can try to keep those hands loose and let the back of the dumbbell kind of rest against the heel of your hand. Okay, doesn't need to be any more complicated than that.
Cool.
Pretty rarely do we do a finisher like that, but it can
Yeah.
hurt sometimes.
Burpees?
Oh yeah,
Trees.
should we do some burpees? All right,
Cool.
that's it.
Thanks. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Next week, we will include some nutrition and some fueling, so stay tuned.